All right, Colts Nation, we are back. Happy Tuesday. Oh, the extended weekend is over. Back to work for those of you working the 9 to 5, myself included. Don't be fooled by the fact that you're watching me in my bedroom right now, bed behind me. Listen, I'm at work too. This was recorded in advance, right? So we're kind of in that lull period right now where it's all speculation, just waiting for the action to start. Now, this isn't just exclusive to us Colts fans. This is football fans as a whole. But when we talk about the Colts now, I've been on record saying that I view this team we have right now, this roster, go ahead, look it up, as one that is ready for a wild card berth, or at least to be, I don't know, playing some meaningful football in the last month of the season. And now, mind you, I actually view that as a pretty reasonable take. I don't feel like I'm just saying that because I'm a Colts fan. I feel like if I was a fan of some different team, I'd be saying the exact same thing. Now, of course, I don't have expectations of some sort of deep playoff run or a Super Bowl, but again, just some meaningful football in the last few weeks of the season, right? And with Shane Steichen coming over from Philly, you got Anthony Richardson getting added into the mix, and existing talent on the offense, right? JT, Pittman, the offensive line, the whole crew. I feel pretty confident in saying that we'll be enjoying the on-the-field product much more this season than last season. Not that that, of course, is the highest of standards, but nonetheless, we take it one year to the next, right? Now, of course, with every season comes adversity, lessons that need to be learned, questions about the current players, their futures, the future of the organization, right? So on and so forth. Now, sometimes you can answer these questions, sometimes you don't. But I figured today I could discuss a few questions that this Colts team, this season, questions that are going to be answered whether they like it or not. There's no choice. They have to be answered this season. And I suppose you could consider this, me building some sort of narrative or storylines or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to make meaningful discussion around the Colts. What do you want from me? I can't stop talking about the Colts. I'm addicted to it. And I mean, after all, this is a Colts show. So, I mean, that is what it is, right? For those of you who haven't been here before, welcome. My name is Justin. This is the Ride the Bench Colts cast. I talk about the Colts all the time. Going to be doing it till I'm a million years old. You can get used to it, right? So if at any point during this you're enjoying it, go ahead and just shoot it a like. It's the one thing that I really, really ask of everyone that's watching consistently. Please do that. Of course, you can subscribe if you want to be a part of the journey. I know you only got so many people in your rotation, so you just enjoying it and liking it is enough for me. But really, not that I'm kidding about the like thing, but also, if you don't like it, don't like it. I don't know what you want me to tell you. So let's get into question number one here that we know is going to be answered this season. And that is about Michael Pittman, the cover boy. You're looking at it. That's why you clicked, right? Michael Pittman. Is Michael Pittman going to be a part of this team's future? Now, I know that Pittman isn't the only expiring contract on this team, so we could ask this about everybody whose contract's expiring, technically. But I do feel like Pittman's contract is one of the more interesting to talk about, right? I mean, you look at a guy like JT, his contract, also one that we have to figure out. But the question with JT isn't as much about whether or not he's worth the money. It's just about figuring out something that works for both sides being his party, right, or himself, his business, and then the business of the Indianapolis Colts, right? And the running back position is kind of weird for a number of reasons. One of the primary reasons being they often give their best years in their rookie contracts. But when you think about the Colts without Jonathan Taylor, they completely lose their identity. There's nothing to us, right? I mean, I'm out here talking about wild card expectations at the top of the show. And without JT, that's pretty much a complete pipe dream, not just this season, but for the foreseeable future. So that's one thing, right? Barring we draft another big name running back, JT is a guy that we know is we run this team through this guy. Now, Pittman, on the other hand, just slightly different, right? We know how good he is. We know he's probably, I think, basically undebatably, but you have people who are kind of against him. I hate to see it. Basically the best player on this team, or rather the best receiver on this team. I apologize. And we know he's kind of on the line of being a really good receiver and a bona fide number one receiver. He isn't exactly a number two receiver, right? I think he's better than that. But if you're breaking it down into 1A, 1B, a la, let's say, the Bengals, right? If there's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Pittman right now seems to be more like T. Higgins, no disrespect to T, but obviously not the same as Jamar Chase, right? 1A, 1B, Pittman being 1B. Now, he's also young and he has room to improve. But the question becomes, is there going to be another team willing to pay him top dollar in hopes that he grows into that 1A, or just a team that doesn't really need much, just needs a piece to put them over the top, right? I mean, Pittman, market value for him is going to be what? 18, 19, $20 million a year, right? Presumably he's going to get a few of them. So now that kind of becomes one of those things, is that overpaying? Is he worth that? Again, a team that is kind of at the precipice. Dude, sometimes I use a big word and I'm not even sure if I used it right. This is one of those moments. A team that is on the precipice of competing for a championship may be more willing to give Pittman that money than a team that is kind of, rebuilding or whatnot, which leads me into the second question that we're going to find out the answer to this year, I believe, and are the Colts in the middle of a full rebuild or just like a minor retooling phase? Now, I don't know if the term retool is like something that's like real or I'm just making it up, but let me explain what I mean when I say that. A rebuild to me implies that there is no real end in sight for the mediocrity, right? I mean, we just went 4-12-1. A rebuild would mean we're going to see quite a bit more of that, and almost intentionally so, as we try to build this team up, right? That we're trying to acquire younger talent, reshape the roster, save money, etc. And that's just like the primary goal over actually competing for the next 3 to 4 years, right? A retool, on the other hand, would mean that we view Anthony Richardson's rookie contract as one where we can make a real push. And this is possible, more possible than people think. Now, again, we don't know the answer to this right now. We've got no clue. That's why, right? That's exactly my point. That's why it's an answer that we're going to get this season, not one that we already have. And it's an answer, or rather the answer to this question, in many ways actually answers the first question about Michael Pittman, right? I think it becomes much easier to pay Michael Pittman that $18, $19, $20 million a year if you feel this roster has a window to win games. But that being said, that kind of comes down to Anthony Richardson and where he's at. You think of some of the teams last year that were doing really well, they had quarterbacks on rookie contracts, right? You have Burrow still on his rookie deal, Jalen Hurts on his rookie deal. The Niners were in the NFC Championship. The mold right now is kind of to put as much around that young quarterback as possible if you feel like you're ready to go, and then kind of use that rookie contract as a window to really compete for a chip if things so happen to fall your way. Now, it may seem unlikely that the Colts are going to be a major player anytime soon in the AFC right now, but a lot can change in football in a very short period of time. Perfect example being the next question that I have, and it's, can the Colts rely on Shaquille Leonard to be a cornerstone player for this defense, right? And you want to talk about things changing really, really fast. This guy, Shaquille Leonard, the linebacker formerly known as Darius, this was a guy who was widely regarded, I thought, was the best linebacker in football, but I mean, everyone and their mother thought that this guy was one of the best defensive players in football. What was he, like 26 years old, right? Now, there's literally questions, 2 years later, about whether he'll ever be the same again, or dare I say, if he's kind of on the brink of retirement with all these injuries, right? These are valid questions. I mean, when you look at how ambiguous the Colts have been whenever giving an update about his injury, and I know people don't want to hear this type of stuff because everyone wants to be positive kumbaya, but at the same time, I'm a little jaded. We dealt with the Andrew Luck situation, and now we have Shaquille Leonard, who just can't stay on the field, and every time they ask about him, we're like, yeah, he's doing well, right? No timetable on his return, blah, 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 this, that, the next. I've got no clue what's going on with him, right? Last season, he's talking about how dark the times were, right? Or whatever it is. And for all I know, he's going to retire. Whenever you hear that type of thing, I generally go by the rule, where there's smoke, there's fire. And with Shaquille Leonard, for me, there's a little bit of smoke, and it has my antennas up, right? So, big question. Again, can the Colts rely on him to be a cornerstone player for this defense, right? Now, it's quite possible that Shaq is perfectly fine come the start of the season or somewhere early on, but as of right now, he hasn't touched the field in a while, and that includes OTAs, which we're dealing with right now. We can only handle the information that's put in front of us, and his availability makes a big difference here. Quite frankly, with Shaq Leonard at like 80% of what he was a couple years ago, right? He doesn't even have to come all the way back. this defense in many ways is loaded, right? The talent we have there existing, and then Gus Bradley, who nobody questions his resume, right? I mean, there would be plenty of reasons to have hopes that this unit finishes inside of the top 10, right? 12, definitely one of the better defenses in the league if Shaq Leonard is on the field. I mean, obviously questions about the secondary remain, but when you talk about the potential that we have up front, all the way into the second level with the linebackers, right? Some safeties that fly around, some young corners, athletic guys. I mean, this defense could do really well with Gus Bradley, right? And that would ultimately give the offense a better chance, right? Give us a better chance of winning, which would clear up whether or not we're going to try and compete during Anthony Richardson's rookie deal, right? So now this answers number 2. So now Darius Leonard answers number 2, whether it's a rebuild or a retool. That answers whether or not Michael Pittman is going to be getting money from us or a different suitor, right? Isn't it crazy how all of these things in football just be tied together, intertwined and such, right? I mean, football is the ultimate team game. There's just so many moving parts that really anything can happen. And one thing happening can have a ripple effect throughout the entire team. I mean, that's what makes talking about this stuff so fun. And that's why I'll be continuing to do it. And that's what I just did. So that's the episode. Thank you for making it to the end. If you're still here right now, this is where you shoot the like if you haven't done it already. And of course, I would love you to subscribe, but I will be doing this for such a long time that if you don't subscribe now, you can subscribe in 3 years. But at the same time, maybe don't wait 3 years, right? You could just do it now as well. But it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it. Until next time, I'm Justin, and this right here was the Riding the Bench Colts cast. I feel like I was talking fast today, was I not?